Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Federico and Jade of Frozen Crown to talk about Winterbane, out April 23rd on Scarlet Records. How are you guys doing?
Fine, thank you. Really, really well. Hope the same for you.
Oh, I'm doing better now that I'm here with you guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And a great hello to all the audience.
Oh, thank you, thank you. The first question that I have for you guys is, with all the lineup changes that happened coming into this album, does this record kind of feel like a debut record of sorts?
For some aspects, it feels, because of course the new members brought some fresh air. There's a completely different atmosphere. So you have that sense of new going. But for what concerns the album itself, I mean, not really, because the way the album sounds right now is pretty much the same we already had in mind before the lineup change. So since the very first album, we had quite a clear idea in mind of how the first three albums were going to be. So some stylistic choices we made with this new album were already planned. So we just, so pretty much it doesn't feel like a debut album, because that's the way, the album was meant to be in the first place.
You guys already had that roadmap of what the album
exactly.
like.
Yeah, of course, the new members brought some, of course, fresh things. We had the drummer, doing all his work, adding some dynamics, a lot of stuff going actually, but it doesn't feel as a debut album per se.
So, and how is the creative process for a Frozen Crown album? How do you guys divide the work?
So basically, the main ideas come from Federico and me, and we arrange, the core of the song. We develop it, and yes, after we created the song, the vocal lines and whatever, then we start working with the other guys for their parts. For example, in this album, we had so much more time than usual, and we started to work with Niso, the drummer, around 1 year before the release, 1 year from today. So we really had time to develop and to work every detail much deep than usual, than the other times.
Of course, it was planned to focus more on this album, because of course this was the third album, which is pretty important, Mm-hmm. So we had the luck, because people think the lineup change happened all together, but that's not true. That's just when we announced the new guys. But actually our previous drummer actually left the band a year ago. And so Niso, as she said, the drummer, which was actually 17 years old back then, was already in the band. And he had the chance to actually write his drums and to record them.
Yes.
So
we have much time.
Yeah. So as you guys move forward, is this going to be like a team effort, where everybody has a little bit of an input in terms of what Frozen Crown is going to sound like?
Yeah, hopefully so. I mean, technically this time, especially for drums, but I'm only telling, I'm talking more about drums, because of course the two other guys, Sheena, the guitar player, and Iki, the bass player, sadly came much later in the band. So we had much of the stuff already, pretty much close to finish, So, but for what concerns drums, I think Niso actually influenced a lot the dynamics of the album, and really brought a lot of his things. For example, in track number 5, which is called Crown Eternal, or in track the 10th, the last track of the album, Blood on the Snow, which is quite, yeah, Blood on the Snow, which is quite Prog oriented or something. Yeah, it really brought a lot. And of course, we were also happy with the contribution of Sheena and Iki. So yeah, we hope we have more time in the future to work together to the 4th album. And that's, of course, something we really want to do, yeah.
You know, I'm really upset that when you guys were looking for new band members, you didn't call me, because I'm really good with my cowbell. I have a cowbell. I'm good at that. And I could have really helped you guys bring some more cowbell into this record.
Yeah, cowbells are always the right thing.
Yes, thank you for your suggestion, because we will arrange something together.
Yeah,
I can have like a cowbell solo or something.
Yeah, you can be, you know, a special guest. Yeah.
What was the most challenging aspect of this record? I mean, you guys have some experience now. This is the 3rd album, so you guys have learned a few things from the previous records, but there's always something new. There's always something that you didn't have to go through before. So what do you feel was the most difficult thing about this record?
Yes, from my point of view, the most challenging things has been working on lyrics, of course, because I decided to work deeper on them, you know, to experiment much more, many sides of my skills. And also our producer proposed us another way of working this time. And we recorded a lot of layers of every single track with the purpose to make it sound more powerful but natural, you know. So I had to record a lot of stuff. And on the other side, I also had to work before it a lot to find to put all I could put on it, and also to find the right tune for every song. So we tried a lot of different, tune versions for every song, until I find for each one of them the perfect, the perfect alchemy. Alchemy, yes, to make everything work in the best version possible.
Yeah, remember the we changed the Nightcrawler several times.
Oh, yes. For example, also Nightcrawler, in the end, I found myself at ease, and my greater satisfaction in singing it one tune up compared to the original one. So I made a lot of experiments with every song, and this in particular.
It's funny that you already mentioned 2 songs that I'm going to ask you guys about later on, which is Nightcrawler and Blood on the Snow. But before we get into those, we just talk about the challenges. Now, what about the growth? Where do you guys see yourselves on this record compared to the first album, for example? What has been the biggest improvement for you guys?
Well, I guess, first of all, I think this album sounds more like a team effort, even despite the fact that a couple of members didn't have the chance to work on every single song as much as we wanted. But I think you can say this is a more, I would not say complex album, because we don't tend to create complex stuff. I mean, we like straightforward songs with pretty clear choruses, structures, We like simple things. We like Iron Maiden. We like classic stuff. So I wouldn't say complex, but more consistent. This completely sounds like Frozen Crown, but in my opinion, of course, much better in all ways. I mean, better guitar rhythms, more guitars, the bass is really clear and powerful, and you can listen it. It's very fundamental in songs like Towards the Sun, for example, very Iron Maiden style. The drums, of course, are awesome. And as she said, the vocals are really on another level because, of course, they were recorded with a lot more, knowledge. And of course, with a different approach from our producer, Andrea. Yes.
Is this a record that you feel like it's balanced from top to bottom? Do you feel like this is a balanced record, like the way it sounds, the way it comes across? And I'll explain.
Yes.
I'll explain you why I'm asking you this question. Because listening to the album, I felt like the album was divided. It had like 3 parts, and the first 2 parts are very like equal to each other. The way you were explaining the sound, the approach, everything is very equal. But then the last third of the record is different. It starts off with Nightcrawler, and then you have that instrumental track, and then you have Blood on the Snow. Those 3 songs together are very different than everything that came up until that point. Were you concerned that you have the album feel this way, that you have 2/3 of it very tight, very together, and then this last third, man, it's like you guys go on a complete different path. It's a different road you're taking with those last 3 songs.
Yes, in our opinion, it's balanced because, as you noticed, we tried to show different sides of us, being loyal to ourselves, but we would anyway also, yes, touch different sides, touch some different topics, and develop them in different songs, as you said. From the beginning to the end, you can see a lot of shades. Yes, I agree with you. And in my opinion, it's balanced because we have some straightforward songs, more articulated songs. We have many different things. Yes, yes. And different styles, different moods. So you can find something for every time of the day, every mood you have during your days, in my opinion.
If I may, about the 3 parts you were talking about, I think, yeah, I completely agree, actually, and that was made on purpose. But there was pretty much something similar in our first 2 albums, but in this case, it was much more, clear. Yeah, clear. And the reason is simple, the album is just, of course, an album has to be put, people have to buy the album, an album is, of course, art, but it's also a product, you need to sell your stuff, Mm-hmm. So, of course, track lists on albums are not made randomly. Of course, they need to make sense. So that was meant to be like, if you're a true fan of the band, you will definitely go until the end and then discover some hidden stuff and unexpected stuff you can enjoy. But if you're new to the sound of the band, you can find, the first songs that actually, the first songs really tells you who Frozen Crown are. And then, gradually you have the special things. For example, the featuring with Federica Lanna, which is, of course, a one-of-a-kind song. And for example, there's also that song, the folkish one, the water dancer. So you have, very folkish. And then you have the cover. Then you have the instrumental, and then you have the long prog song. So if you think about it, you have 4 songs that actually are pretty much closer to the old Frozen Crown sound. Then you have the 5th song, which is, it pretty much mirrors The Shield Maiden, which is one of our older songs, and a song that actually fans loved the most live, even if it wasn't a proper video clip. So that is slightly more complex, I would say. That idealistic, how can I say, ends the first part of the album, And then you have the special song. I mean, the folkish, the featuring, which is also more mellow sounding. Then you have the cover, the instrumental. Yeah, so that was made on purpose. So people could not be estranged by, you know, having the impression to listen to something, you know, folkish. For example, if we put that song as the first, you know.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally get it. I like what you guys did with that song, because even though it has folkish elements, they kind of disappear and then they come back again, then they disappear, they come back again. So that kind of allows you to feel like they're there, but they don't become everything that the song is about, if that makes sense. So I that was a good transition kind of track. I really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorites on the album, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, she's very tied to that song.
Yes, yes, yes. Because you know, it immediately gave me the idea for the lyrics. Okay, I was thinking, you know, one of my heroes character I always loved, and I decided, you know, to write about her, because the lyrics are about Arya Stark from the Game of Thrones saga. You know, I like girls with this kind of strength, so I decided, you know, that song immediately told me that.
And moving into another song, I have to ask you about Nightcrawler. I'm going to say this on the record right now. Your cover is better than the original.
You are too kind.
Too kind.
I'm not even joking. I think you guys made the song heavier. I think you guys made the song more powerful, and I think your voice actually gives better life to that song. I honestly think it's not every day that you hear a cover, specifically a Judas Priest cover, and I felt like you guys actually did a better job than Judas Priest. So I just want to say that to you guys. Incredible cover. What inspired you to pick that song for a cover?
First of all, thank you very much. And you know, we always have been fans of bands like Judas Priest. So, you know, it was our, you know, opportunity to celebrate somehow our roots. So we have been really, really happy. You know, the idea to cover that song came quite naturally.
Yeah, because it's quite, you know, it's quite similar to, we already could imagine that with the sound of Frozen Crown, you know. I don't know how to explain that, you know, it was just like.
Yes, and even if, you know, in the Frozen Crown albums, you are used to hear me sing differently from that. You know, I have a strong root in heavy metal, so I give all my energy to make it to also, you know, show that side of me. So I had a lot of fun, and I'm really, really happy with the result, because you know, it's somehow a part of me, a part of my roots, even if you know, it's not something that I usually show in Frozen Crown, but it's a part of me also, that kind of singing, that kind of approach.
Evil singing.
Yes, evil.
A little bit darker.
Yes.
And I love the part where she's whispering.
Yeah. I'm telling you that song, it turns out like it's one of my favorite songs on the album. And like I said, it's, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is better than the original.
Oh well, thank you so much.
Yeah, I got to tell you guys that. And the other song I wanted to ask you guys about is Blood on the Snow, the last track. It felt to me, this song was interesting because it felt a little bit of a vibe like from Stradivarius. It had a little bit of a Stradivarius vibe to it.
And oh, really?
I felt like it was pushing like that Prog, like that Stradivarius power metal / Prog sound that they have, or that they had perhaps more in the older records. And I felt like that song kind of reminded me of that a lot, but it felt to me like it was a little bit short of it. Like it almost needed a little bit more Prog influences. So the question that I have for you is, considering how good that song is, closes off the record, it kind of showcases a little bit more of a Prog side. Is that something that you guys want to perhaps try out a little bit more in the future?
Well, you know, definitely, you know, and that's that was also the purpose of putting it at the end of the album. It was like, you know, what you could expect from our future stuff, you know, somehow. And I can tell one thing, you know, that was really the funniest song to arrange and to perform and to record, right?
Yes.
It was really funny, you know, it was really beautiful to just work on that song. And of course, we love, as we said, straightforward and simple songs. We like that. But of course, that kind of approach, maybe even more prog oriented, is definitely something we want to explore, and especially due to the new lineup and you know, all the things that that can bring. Of course, you know, there is a downside. You know, we played many shows during the last years, and very few ones lasted around an hour or maybe 50 minutes. So the risk is that if you make, you know, some live shows, you're never going to be able to play those songs because you will end up playing just 3 songs, you know. So, yeah, so that's something, you know, because Blood on the Snow is close to 9 minutes, and of course the song before is the actual intro of Blood on the Snow. So the song total is really over, I guess, 12 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah. So that would be hard, you know, for a live show environment. But we definitely love the idea of having more songs like that on our next album. That's also something we did partially with the title track in Crowned in Frost, which was also the last song and was quite prog oriented, but more in a Cradle of Filth way. It had some Cradle of Filth kind of vibes. This one is more, if you ask me, it's more like Opeth kind of prog metal, I think.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. Do you feel like this is the perception that I had? I could be totally wrong, and that's why I'm here to ask you guys, but I felt like the album felt a little bit safe. Like you guys try not to take too many risks. You try to stay close to what you have done in the past and the sound that fans can expect from Frozen Crown. Is that just my perception, or there's a little bit more there, but I just don't see it? Like it's not as visible to me, and perhaps is more visible to you because you're the one that actually made it.
Yes.
Well, you may be right or wrong. I don't know, but I can. No. But I can tell you something. There's something to tell. You know, we love our music and we love our style. So of course, we stuck to the Frozen Crown sound. That was in the first place because we simply love that kind of music. You know, we just didn't make our first 2 albums because of, you know, any reason other than really loving that stuff, you know. So that's pretty much, you know, our style. There was no intent to stick to our stuff, of course. But if I may, I think this time we really wanted to focus on other approaches. You know, we had meant to make changes, not maybe necessarily on the songwriting, but for example, on the fact that it's quite subtle, but in this album, there are little to no keyboards. Pretty much, you know, you can hear keyboards only in the instrumental one and only in the Federica Lanna featuring. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, we have no keyboards. We completely changed the approach, giving the bass main part and drums as well, and use it a lot more guitar. So I can relate with you to the fact that, of course, we didn't move so far from our style, but for us, you know, in our mind, that there was a way not to change, but actually to consolidate what we already did, but with this new approach, because, you know, the funny thing is, we had a lot of keyboard parts in the past, and sometimes live, since we were using backing tracks, because I play keyboards in the studio, so we have no keyboard player. It was a little, you know, weird to be still on stage, 5 people, no playing, and hearing backing track, you know. So one of the first goal was, okay, let's try to make this music a 5-person music, you know. That was really the main focus. So maybe we didn't focus much on try to find different solution or try to stay away from the path, you know. So that was not intentional, if that was your question.
Yeah. And you know what? I applaud you guys for that, because it's a pet peeve of mine. It really drives me crazy when you have a band that uses a lot of keyboards, and when you go see them live, there's no keyboard player. It just drives me crazy. Like, where's the keyboard player?
Yeah.
If you're gonna put that much keyboards on your sound, at least hire somebody. Put somebody there. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that makes
I
sense.
applaud you guys for taking that approach. Now, the last question that I have for you guys is, as you start to get closer to the date that this album comes out and fans will be able to enjoy the record and listen to the album, is there one single thing that you take away from this record, like perhaps something that changed you or changed the way you see music and the way you see the band? Has there been a long-lasting impact from this album as you move forward?
Let me think about it. Just a second. What do you think, Federico?
But this is quite a hard question,
Yes,
actually.
that's it.
But I don't know, really. Excuse me?
That's why it's the last one. You got.
Yeah, so it took more effort. Yeah, but I don't know, really. I think I'm really happy with everything, you know, so far, and I think, you know, maybe, you know, a lot of people talk about expectations. You know, we are doing this thing. We expect to be there next year. You know, to have goals. You know, maybe it's so hard to reply to this question because we don't have goals, except for the fact we really want to enjoy what we are doing. You know. That's really, you know, in all honesty, I mean, there's a lot of planning here. Of course, we, you know, we make music videos. We have a strategy. We, of course, are our own managers. You know, we do everything by ourselves, really. So, yeah, there is a lot of planning going, but we really have no goal. We really like to enjoy the moment, and I think with these 3 new guys, this became even much better because, you know, everybody is enjoying how things are so far. So, you know, I really have no reply to your question other than this, really.
I think you answered it.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it's good to just live in the moment and not try to over plan things. And I think you guys are doing just fine.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well, on that note, I want to thank the 2 of you for taking the time to sit down with me today to talk about the record Winterbane, out April 23rd on Scarlet Records. Thank you, and all the best. All the best. Much success with the release of the record.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everything. It has been a really, really nice chat with you, and we wish you all the best for the future.
And by the way, I'm also your fan because I think you're really very, you know, funny, you know, your reactions and the stuff you do. You know, we've been following you for I guess a couple of years. No, maybe just it's not more than just 1 year that you're really going strong, right? I remember 1 year ago you pretty much started doing this seriously, right?
I think it's going to be like 3 years now or something like that. I don't know. I lost track of time during this pandemic, to be honest with you. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
No, because I noticed your channel during the pandemic last year. So maybe the fact that there was the pandemic, maybe gave you more visibility, for the fact, you know, all people were doing live stream.
More time. It gave us more time to do things like even to have this conversation now. If this was a year ago, it would have been difficult because you're busier at work and you're doing things. So definitely the pandemic has helped from that perspective. I mean, it's helped bands because it's given you guys more time to be creative. The downside is you can't play shows, but overall you have to look at the positives and try not to always look at the negatives, you know.
No, yes. And in my opinion, you know, all the web gave everyone the chance to improve in the web world. Yes. So, you know, as everyone, I think that went good for you, good for the bands. You know, we just found a new way of working somehow.
Yeah, you need to adapt and not think about the things you do not have.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
And develop other, you know, shores, discover new horizons.
Yeah, it's true. You have to discover other ways of doing things differently and still have an impact. Well, guys, thank you very much for your time. All the best. And hopefully I'll see you guys somewhere soon. I don't know, like in Europe, here, whatever. Once this pandemic is over, I want to see some Frozen Crown live, and I'll bring my cowbell.
Yes,
and you will come on stage to play your cowbell.
Yes.
You guys gonna regret that?
We are waiting for you. You were gonna regret
it's
that.
A promise. It's a promise.
We will pick you up.
All right, guys, take care. All the best.
Take care. Thank you very much. Bye.